Hey, you guys, and welcome again to another video. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful day. We're going to jump right into what we're going to be talking about today in this video, and I would say the overarching theme is holding the truth accountable. Okay, that's probably the overarching theme for this video. But if you've been following us on our community page, you'll see we've been doing a series of like comics. I just been having fun with that and putting them together and all of that, and it's basically things that we have been saying on this platform for a long time, and you could tell who doesn't really watch any of the videos by the reactions, because some of these people act shocked and surprised as if we're saying something new, but in reality we have whole videos where we go through details and give you everything, where we really take the time to go through this stuff. We're not just saying things for shock value to get more likes, like someone said, or to get more clicks. So just to be clear, on the community pages, we don't get anything off of that. That's just a freebie that they give us as a way of, engaging with you, the viewer. It just gives us another way to do that. But I have the option too of putting those, and I do sometimes, copying those posts and putting them on our own blog that has nothing to do with YouTube, and I don't get anything off of that either. This is just for your own information. And it's really something, when people are, because what we're doing is we're asking questions, we're probing people to really get people to start thinking instead of just repeating what someone else told you. And it just really amazes me to see just how many of our people out here, will just simply do just that. We've been repeating things over and over again. What I'm talking about more specifically is when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to, things that were taught to us or passed down to us, repeated to us by pastors, by, maybe your parents, your mom, or whoever that was very in the church, and you just inherited a lot of that church talk and just kept on repeating the same things over and over again. But as you know, we are are really about, okay, let's take a snapshot of what was said. Now let's go back and see if what was said actually came to pass. Is there truth to it? Or do we find ourselves in this never ending cycle where we have to make more excuses for it? You understand what I'm saying? It's kind of like a bad relationship, for example. And I've used this example quite often, where if you're in a very bad abusive relationship, which abuse is bad, right? The person that's being abused sometimes will find themselves having to make excuse for the abuser, and they'll say, well, hey, listen, maybe they were just tired, and I shouldn't have made that much noise when I came in from work. I should have had the dinner on the table when they came home, and, I should have took care of the dishes or whatever, and they'll this never ending making excuses for this, instead of saying, nope, let's draw the line here. If what was said is true, then let's go back, revisit, and measure and see if it was true or not. If it's not true, then we got to park here for a second, and we're going to have to face the facts. Case in point, we're going to have another post that's coming up very soon. And we've even done a video on this. And not only did we do a video, it was a live video where I invited people to call in. And the topic was very simple. It was, okay, we talked about in the New Testament and gave the examples in scripture where it says that, if you believe, for those who believe, right? It didn't say you have to get a PhD. It didn't say you had to be up on your tithes. It didn't say you had to be a member of a certain church. It didn't say you had to change your name to a Hebrew name. It simply said, if you believe on him, they said, you will lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. And it goes on to say that you'll even be able to raise people from the dead, right? So what we did and have been going is periodically going back and asking people, are you walking in this? In because the Bible also says, Jesus is also quoted in the Bible saying that greater works than these shall you do. And when you take that and you put it back to people and say, okay, I know we like repeating that over and over again when we're in our little church bubble, but let's get out of the church bubble and now let's ask ourselves, are we seeing that? Is it a yes or is it a no? If it's a no, let's find out why. Are we meeting the qualifications that is mentioned in the Bible? The Bible makes it very clear what the qualifications are. Believe. So if you believe, this will happen. Period. Makes it very clear. Doesn't say anything else. It says, if you believe, you will walk in greater power and in greater works than what Jesus demonstrated. However, we're not seeing that. And I gave people an opportunity several times to call in and tell me, hey, are you actually seeing this happening in your own life? Are you walking in this? Are you known as someone that's greater than Jesus in terms of power, demonstrated power? Are you known as someone that's greater than what he demonstrated here on the earth, according to the Bible, in your own community, in your own family? Are people coming from miles around just so that you can lay hands on them? If that's not happening, let's full stop here and let's stop making excuses for that. Okay, that means that what was said did not come to pass, which means it's not true. It's very simple. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so this is what we do on this platform now. People that hear that, they, oftentimes they will, they don't know how to answer. So they will say, well, what's your agenda? Who's pushing you to do this? And when I hear people say that, what they're really saying is, nobody's ever challenged me to even ask these things. So instead of stopping and acknowledging and admitting to that, they have to project back. They have to deflect. They got to say, wait a minute now, you're invading my bubble space here, because in this bubble, we just repeat things over and over again. We never measure anything. We just simply repeat over and over again, and pretty much that's it. And the generation that's coming up right now, they're just looking, and they're making note that I'm not trying to do what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so why am I mentioning this? Because because in this video, what we're going to be talking about just very briefly is not just when we're coming out of the Bible, we're putting that to the side. And I'm pointing out yet something else that, unfortunately, what I'm seeing many of our people, they're not going back and holding individuals accountable. And what am I talking about is there's this article that came out recently. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Some of you may be aware of this. We actually talked about this in our the group that we have on Threema, where we're able to talk about this particular topic a lot more freely, than here on this platform. Because once again, I find myself, taking a great risk and even talking about this, but it's in the mainstream media now. Apparently they got the go ahead from the powers that shouldn't be, that now they can start acknowledging these things, the very things that we were saying from early on, that, hey, listen, you need to investigate. And we provided a ton of information at the expense of having videos taken down, having strikes put on our channel, the whole nine. And so anyway, this is in the Telegram, but it's based off of a study that was just done. This was posted June the 5th, 2024. All right. And the title, as you can see right here, says COVID vaccines may have helped fuel rise in excess deaths. All right. So as I'm talking here, I have to figure out a way, because you got this AI algorithm that's literally measuring every word I say. So there may be a bit pauses there as I'm kind of going through this, because I gotta figure out how I can discuss this without it sending some flag and acting as if I'm telling you something that's not in the acceptable playbook, if you will. Do you understand what I'm saying? So anyway, so you see the title there. This is in the Telegraph, okay? And this is a UK publication. So let's go ahead and read it. It says the jab, I'll just say that, could partially be blamed, and I emphasize the word partially, for the algorithm, okay? But you and I know what's up. To blame for the rise in excess deaths since the pandemic, scientists have suggested. Researchers from the Netherlands analyzed data from 47 Western countries and discovered there have been more than 3 million excess deaths since 2020, with the trend continuing despite the rollout of jabs and containment measures. They said the unprecedented figures raised serious concerns and called on governments to fully investigate the underlying causes, including possible jab harms. All right, and it says writing in the BMG, that's the British Medical Journal, Public Health. The authors from the it's Virgie, hope I'm saying that right, University in Amsterdam said, although the jabs were provided to guard civilians from suffering morbidity and mortality by the virus, suspected adverse events have been documented as well. And it goes on to say that both medical professionals and citizens have reported serious injuries and deaths following vaccinations to various official databases in the Western world. And I'll read this a little bit more right here. It says they added, during the pandemic, it was emphasized by politicians and the media on a daily basis that every COVID-19 death mattered and every life deserved protection through containment measures and COVID-19 vaccines. In the aftermath of the pandemic, the same moral should apply. All right. And they go on and they do, as you go through the article, you can read it on your own. Just look up the title of the article, and right here it gives you links, I believe, to the actual study. It's, providing you all the details and and all of that, right? So there's a lot, as you can imagine, that I can say on this topic, but like I said earlier, I'm very limited on what I can say on this plantation, this platform. But again, that's what we encourage you again to check out our group on. And again, if you want to find out how to sign up for it, I'll pull it up on the screen again. Really encourage you. Do not email me directly to ask me to add you. Okay. It does not work that way. I really need you to follow the basic instructions that I'm giving here. Okay. So let me pull up this video again, and it's right here. Okay. I just found it. Pull it up right here on the screen. You see where it says communication strategy for the next wave. The video is like 17 minutes long, but you don't have to watch all of it. You'll get, but you do have to watch it in order to find out the step-by-step. And it's very simple on how to join the group that we have, because we're passing on some very important information that, like I said, again, that I'm not able to showcase here. But if you want to stay up to date and current on some of the latest things that they're doing right now, and I'm telling you right now, these people are moving at breakneck speed, and there's a lot of major changes that are heading our ways, coming in the next couple of months. Okay. And just like we were before, we want to make sure that we're providing some up to the minute information on this stuff and what you and your family can and should be doing, but also making sure that we're providing not just any information, but information that's backed by, like we did before, the medical community, people who have, not someone just a blogger that's sitting down and just theorizing or whatever, but I'm talking about people who study this thing and they understand, and they have been in this space for a very long time, and they can calmly explain to us what's up, like we've done and what we continue to do here. Okay. So so if you're interested and you want to be a part of that, go ahead and check out that video I just posted there. and I'll add you almost immediately. Okay, if I'm not asleep, I'll add you. Okay. So anyway, getting to this topic as far as holding individuals responsible. Okay, so now we're finding out. Well, now it's becoming official. I'll just say that, where they are now acknowledging in mainstream media that there is a correlation between what we have been seeing and what we've been witnessing on a daily basis and the mandated experiment. Okay. And it's funny because one of the things I just posted in our group was in the Ninth Circuit Court in California. Well, they just passed a ruling where they said that the vaccine in of itself cannot be categorized as a vaccine. They're saying that it's an experiment. Now, this is the Ninth Circuit Court that came out with this. So, in other words, it can't be liable as a vaccine. You can't look at it. It was an experiment. And what's happening is you have life insurance companies that are now asking their people, people who have their policyholders, did you take it? Because if you took it, then there's a whole separate thing they're going to put you on where they've already counted you out. They already done the numbers because they already know. And there's other things that are in the pipeline right now that if you are someone that took the thing, you are already being, you're going to be penalized for it, and there will be no coverage, really offered to you. Okay. And again, I have to talk very discreet here, but in the group, we've provided a lot more information on that. But so I sit back here, and one of the things in that group as well, what I've been doing is, yes, you have people of all shades, of all walks of life who took this thing and are no longer with us. All right. But what we're doing in the group is I'm filtering out the other people, and I want our people to actually see people who look like us that's being impacted. Okay. There's a reason for that. That's not discounting the other people that's out there. But when you see the impact that it's having on people that look like you, that should do something to you. I know for myself, it makes me extremely angry. It makes me very, very, very angry to see what is coming about. And I think what makes me angrier is the fact that there are numbers of people, there are numbers of groups, there are numbers of organizations that I can point to that were the main ones that were just pushing this thing. They didn't do any honest research. They basically was repeating the talking points that were being handed to them. And they were using their influence to push many of our people to make a decision on something that really should have not been, it shouldn't have gone down that way at all. And now we're seeing in the court system and in the mainstream media, now the medical industry right now, they're now coming out and confirming exactly what platforms like this have been saying all along. All right. And so I was looking at, here's an article here. I'll go ahead and pull this up here. And again, we're staying on this theme of holding people accountable. Okay. This is an article. This was, what was this, back in 2023? It says billions in federal aid helped Christian organizations survive the pandemic. Now, we talked about this a little bit. I remember now when this story came out, we were talking about how a lot of churches that are out there, these 501c3s that were where all of a sudden they're getting all of this. They go from, having their members coming every Sunday or every Wednesday, providing the income that they need to run their houses of worship, to all of a sudden now the government coming in and saying, you're going to have to shut this down because we're trying to control the spread, right? And so what that did was it caused a full stop in income amongst a lot of these houses of worship. And so here comes the government, comes in for the rescue and began to provide many, not all, but many of these ministries with billions of dollars of resources so that they can stay open and so that they can pay their staff and all of that. But as you know, the government never does anything for free, right? And so we'll just read a tiny bit of this article, then we're going to jump to something else. Okay. We just, we start wide and we narrow down as we go on in our discussion here. Okay. So it says here, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. government provided an unusual lifeline to tens of thousands of Christian organizations, emphasize the word Christian organizations, and churches through Forgiven Paycheck Protection Program. That was the PPP loans under the CARES Act. That aid amounted to roughly $7 billion in forgiven loans, according to an analysis of federal data of Christianity Today. Most of that funding, about $5 billion, went to churches. Federal aid has gone directly to churches before in the form of disaster assistance, for example, but rarely at that level. All right. Then it goes on to say that a new study in the impact of COVID-19 on the American Church from the Arbor Research Group and Church Salary, a Ministry of Christianity Today, estimates that slightly more than 1/3 of all U.S. churches received a PPP loan of some kind. Almost all of these loans were forgiven, though they were rare instances of churches repaying the federal government. You can go on and read it if you want. Again, this is the title of it. So many of you remember this whole thing with the PPP loans, right? And then you had your cousins and them going out there making up businesses and applying for these loans and getting them. And now they find themselves in court and some of them already in prison, right? But that was your cousins and them. But these churches that were legitimate operations, they were getting tens of thousands and probably some cases even millions of dollars in money for their ministries, right? To push this narrative, right? That we're now finding out that according to this article here, this narrative that they were pushing, there are a lot of people that are no longer with us now because of that same narrative. Okay. And, but these people, these pastors, preachers, put themselves out there and they encourage people that look like you and me to get out here and to take the thing. Now, again, we're going back to holding people accountable. So that means that everybody that encouraged you to take this thing, just like we said in the beginning of our conversation here about holding truth accountable, we need to go back to all of these individuals that it pushed, scared you, use the name of Jesus, use your Bible to convince you to don't do your own personal research, but instead just go with it because that's what Jesus would do. Now we need to go back. A responsible culture will go back and will hold these individuals responsible. Why am I saying that? And why do I even have to say this? This is strange to me, because if I'm seeing people that look like me dropping like they are today, as I said before, I'm extremely angry. Now, I'm not throwing things but I'm I'm extremely angry. I'm extremely angry at what happened and what is happening now. But what I'm noticing is that for many of our people, we are more angry at Caitlin Clark for being in the WNBA and her presence there than the fact that your cousins, your mother, your parents, your grandparents are no longer with us because of a narrative that was being pushed. And it just amazes me how many of our people have all this anger for the wrong things. It amazes me. So let me take you to, this is the African American Community Empowerment Council. I believe they're based in Los Angeles, or I should say in California. But this is an organization that they came together and these are pastors and all of that. And I want you to hear them, okay? This video that you're going to hear is going to be reminiscent of a video that has been out. Many of you have seen this, where they show how mainstream media They're taught, all of them talk from us the same script, right? Making the argument that what we know as mainstream media is all controlled, right? Well, it's no different than what you'll find in these churches. The church examples that we're going to look at today are churches that are mainly in California. So I want you to take a listen to this. Let me turn my volume up. And I want you to hear just how much they were on script. All right. So I got to refresh it here. And let's probably have to do it again. Hold on. All right. Hold on for a second. Because for some reason, it doesn't pause. Hold on. All right. Here we go. I guess that's it. All right. Here we go.
We came together
as pastors,
as leaders,
members of the community,
to stop the spread of COVID-19.
Through the African American Community Empowerment Council,
we're focused on serving African American communities across the state of California.
We provided testing sites
by turning our churches into testing and vaccination centers.
338,000 COVID-19 tests,
17,000 vaccinations,
45,000 antigen home tests.
We armed our communities with free masks and hand sanitizer.
Together, we protected hundreds of thousands of people
across 30 of our network churches.
We worked to stop the spread of COVID-19 from the ground up.
But the pandemic is not over.
It's far from being over.
The rate of positive infections in the African American community
is over 20%.
We must remain vigilant, diligent,
with up-to-date information,
testing and vaccinations.
We must keep all social protocols in mind
and adhere to information from trusted messengers.
We could not have done this work without your support.
And we say thank you.
We will continue to protect our communities.
And with your help, we can stop the spread of COVID-19.
In 2021,
okay, so let me stop that there. Okay, so now for some that may be watching this, you may say, hey, listen, we're simply only repeating what was told to them because to the best of, quote unquote, to the best of their ability, they were relying on who was being presented to them as the experts. Well, for me, I have to push extremely hard back on that because if you call yourself a pastor, what is assumed is that you are an individual that has the ability, or you're driven by the truth. In other words, you are going to, pastors love to repeat that scripture, study to show yourself approved, right? They will repeat that over and over again. But the question I have today is, did any of these pastors study this whole thing that was being presented to them to show themselves approved to talk about the topic? Or were they simply handed a script and just simply repeated it? I go with B for 100 because that's exactly what happened. None of these pastors, none of these preachers that you saw, and then some. This is just in the state of California. This is a partial state of California. But none of them, by virtue of them being on this little program here, did not take the additional steps to investigate the additional information that was out there. It wasn't like it was hidden from them. You got a whole church. You have a whole church which means you got access. You should have access to a ton of things. They got access to the same internet you and I have. And you telling me they didn't even know? They didn't know. They didn't bother to look at any of this. You wonder now, hopefully maybe it's starting to click to you. How is it so easy for things to get, for black folks to be taken advantage of? Because when you have leaders like this that don't even read beyond their Bible, the cost of that are lives. Lives have been lost because many of you have decided to follow these individuals. Without them, they're not reading. You ain't reading. And so now we got family members that are no longer here with us today because of a lack of interest in doing simple, basic research and asking the hard questions. And it's amazing to me that, like I said, again, we try to do this pretty regularly on this platform on a number of topics. It's amazing the amount of pushback we get by simply asking questions. The name calling and the low blows and all of that stuff. And I'm like, okay, but what about the actual topic? And we've talked about this, the history and where that comes from. And like I said, again, I truly believe this is a continuation of the legacies of slavery, because we were trained as a people never to do any investigations at all. We were simply brought here to be obedient, and that's it, and to repeat. Whatever master said, we repeat it and we execute it. That's it. And so, I showed you that, but you also had, let me see, there's another church that's strangely wasn't mentioned. I don't know why they weren't mentioned, but how many of y'all have heard of Crenshaw Christian Center? Oh yeah, that's Fred Price's church, right? Well, now his son has taken over that church. And they were not just a testing site, they were actually categorized as a mega testing site. Right? It says it right here. The Faith Dome serves as a vaccination mega site in Los Angeles. Okay. So that's what they were categorized as. According to this site, they were categorized. I'm going to say that again so that you can hear me loud and clear on this for where I'm getting ready to go. The Faith Dome serves as a vaccination mega site in Los Angeles. Okay. Now, who are the leaders of that church? Now, as you know, Fred Price Sr., according to the reports, he actually passed away, according to them, from COVID. Well, again, I can't go into the details of deaths that were categorized and how they were categorized. That's a whole nother topic that I cannot discuss. But on the cover, that's what they're saying. He died due to that. Okay, that's what they're saying. He's still alive. So this ministry basically took part in pushing out a narrative that has resulted in the lost lives of many of our people that look like you and people that look like me. And see, the thing that really bugs me and irritates me is the sheer ignorance of many of our people. This man can get up online and mention that he's a Hebrew and, I know who I am. We're the 400. He can talk about all of that and people will get sucked up in that. But you will not take this man, hold people like this accountable for pushing something that, again, now they're coming out and saying that, wait a minute, we screwed up. But this wasn't new information. This information's been out here. So I'm asking you, again, how is it that an individual like this that has supposedly invested all this time and will do long sermons and breaking down the Hebrew and all of this other stuff, but he couldn't take the time to find out what's in this thing that's being distributed that his ministry is pushing? I'm not just talking him, I'm highlighting him, but there's all the other ministries I talked about that took part in this too. But see, I don't understand. Again, I still don't get it. I literally don't get it. How is it that our folks can't see this? Where this individual, they can give you all this detailed information. Now, the Hebrew, I'm gonna break this down. They're gonna do all of that. But when the government came and said, hey, listen, you need to push this. Oh, and by the way, we got a bag for you. So no doubt they got a PPP loan. Maybe they didn't. Maybe that particular ministry did, but there was a lot that did. So now the person that's really thinking, using their brain, you should be now thinking, okay, let's see. Number one, Okay, so now they're coming out and saying that all these people passed, right? Because of this thing. So now let me go back and look at and check all the people that encourage me to do all this stuff. Putting paper bags over your face and not going to see grandma and all this other stuff that they were encouraging. You have Fauci that just went to Capitol Hill and acknowledged that some of these things that he was telling people to do, he said it was made up. So all your energy and your hatred and your anger is going to Fauci. But why are you overlooking the people that told you, don't look at me, I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. Mr. Fauci, he knows everything. But by the way, he knows all that. Mr. Fauci, he gonna do all of that research there because that's medicine and I can't read. I ain't gonna investigate. Well, honey, let me tell you about the Hebrew. Let me break it all down for you. And because all I know is the Bible and I can break down scriptures for you all day. I'm gonna stay in my lane because Master Fauci told me to stay in my lane. But I ain't gonna touch no medical books now. That's too much now. And what do y'all do? Just follow along. Just follow around along. Don't even pick up nothing. Meanwhile, you got your uncle, your cousins, and all them. They dropping, and you just sit up there scratching your head and just going right along with it, and not saying a doggone thing. See, this is why when I look at people that, like I said, we use AI images, right? We use it again. We're accentuating real culture. We ain't making no alternative cultures with the technology. In other words, when I do images and stuff, I'm doing it, I'm accentuating what we already have. Like if it's a beautiful woman or it's a beautiful man or a beautiful family and beautiful children or whatever, or nature or something like that. That's what I use it for. I'm not creating this like alternative universe where we're all dressed up like Transformers or something like that with flaming swords and look like we're crossed between Middle Earth and old English, some Scottish kingdom somewhere. I mean, it's like people they don't even know what they're doing. They just said, just give me a black face, but I want a picture of all of us with swords and we just standing at the ready because this is how it's all going to come together. You know what I'm saying? We like to romanticize that. But on the real talk, you're never going to get there. Not if you're not holding truth or the people who claim to be the truth tellers, if you're not holding them accountable. How can you claim that you're standing on truth and you never hold truth accountable? Truth loves to be held accountable. That's the very nature of truth. Anybody that says that they are really about the truth, they love to be held accountable. Because they want to make sure that what I'm saying and what I'm doing, what I'm putting out there is absolutely right. I don't have no problem if someone comes and says, hey, listen, now, Dwayne, you said this, and now you saying that. I don't get triggered over that. I say, okay, let's take a look at it. But I'm also checking you too, because why? Because a lot of times people want to see their motives sometimes of doing that are off. And a lot of times you can just see right through that. But ultimately, you want to be, anybody that loves the truth, they want to be held accountable. But one of the main, what they call the Achilles heel within what we call the black culture is that we never hold anybody accountable. We don't. We may hold white people accountable, but even that's conditional. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm pointing and showing to you that because we didn't hold these people, we're not holding anybody accountable. People are gone by a tune of millions. There's a video, not a video. There's I'm trying to find this other story here. Oh, here it is. Right here, it says, remember TD Jakes? He was another one. Anthony Fauci had all these other doctors up there, and I saw the video. And they act like they was all getting down into the details and explaining to you all they really wasn't explaining too much because I saw it. But how many people have gone back to these individuals and said, hey, listen, you didn't really talk about this. Why you ain't, now that you, hold on, this has come out now. Hey, Pastor, before you get up there on Sunday morning and want to talk about the same, give us a revamp Sunday school lesson that we've heard about 1,000,000 times already and ain't doing nothing for us or doing nothing for the community. I mean, how many ways can you preach Daniel in the lions den? But before you get up there and give us the billionth rendition of Daniel in the lion's den, hey, I saw this article, Pastor, and this is what they're saying. And then the pastor, he may say, that is something else. They say, whoa, that is something else. But Pastor, didn't you push this thing? Well, yeah, I did, but, as you know, I leaned on the experts. Well, okay, you leaned on the experts, but Pastor, didn't you know that there's a lot of other information out there that a lot of people was putting out there for free that you could have read? Well, I got a whole lot of things I got to do. I'm a busy man, I'm a busy man. I ain't got time to do all that. I just leaned on the experts. That's the only thing I can do. Okay, but regardless of that, Pastor, what are you then doing? Okay, so we'll just we'll ease off the brakes a little bit on you. But now that you are confronted with this real information now, you don't feel any sense of responsibility to go back to those experts that you were leaning on to find out what the hell you just told me to tell these people? You don't feel anything at all? You don't feel nothing? Or you just going to go into the next building program? And Pastor, by the way, before we, back off of you just a little bit now, because I still got my eye on you, Pastor. How much was that PPP loan that you got? How much was it? Well, hey, we had to pay the bills and all of that. And we had to do, how much was it? And what's sad is that many people, they won't even go back and do just what I said. They won't even do that. But then the people, they won't hold any of these people accountable. But you get up there and start saying, hey, let's have a discussion on, let's start looking a little deeper dive in the Bible and let's start, some of this stuff ain't panning out right. And, what's going, how you do? Who are you? What's your agenda? Who's pushing you to do this? And, the devil you're allowing the devil pushing you and all this stuff. You get triggered off of that. But when people, at least ain't nobody dying on what I'm telling you. When I tell you, I really don't get it. I don't. I literally don't get it. Like I said, going back to what I was saying earlier, we love to romanticize all this. We were these warriors, we were kings, we were this and that or whatever. But you sitting back and watching this system pick your people off left and right. And then when you see that happen, your religion will tell you, well, honey, listen, they took the mark of the beast and all of that. You allow religion to give you an escape door to ease off any responsibility in it at all. Instead of saying, wait a minute now, I'm not going to allow this thing. Do you understand? When any nation that's facing a force that is responsible for taking out millions of your people, typically what that nation will do is go into full-scale war. That's typically what happens. Okay, when you look at history, Typically, that's what happens. You cross over our border and you taking some of our people out. We taking some of y'all people out, period. But in this world, in this matrix that we're living in right now, we have our people being taken out left and right. You know what our people doing now? Well, you know, the government, what they need to do now, they need to give us our reparations. What? Wait a minute, you ignoring all this right here? This ain't even on the table. You ain't even talking about this. I don't get it. I literally don't. When I tell you I don't get it, I literally don't. So I pulled back, you know, and I'm going to be doing that probably a little bit more because there are parts of me, quite honestly, I have given up. I'm going to be totally honest with you. Because I'm not finding too many people that are really angry about this at all. Not really. This should infuriate you. The fact that they're now coming out and acknowledging this stuff, something that, like I said, many people had already been saying, but now they're coming out and saying, that should infuriate you. And there are people that we know that have taken it. And now they're dealing with some stuff. And, you know, we still, you know, I know for us here on this platform, you know, the way our outlook is, as long as you're breathing, I know what pretty much is said if you take the thing, you know, but I still want to hope, you know what I'm saying, that something can be done. And so we're going to do what we can. But I mean, once it's in you, it's what it is, you know? And like I said, I can't really go into the details again on this platform, what they really put in folks, but they've been very clear on what exactly it is. I'm not trying to overhype or I'm not trying to scare folks or anything like that. These people have been very clear and very plain what their aims were. They're very clear about this. But it really puzzles me how many of our people are allowing the slow boiling of the frog effect. Just nothing. I don't get it. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you. Hopefully we won't have any problems with YouTube and allowing this video to stay on, but it is what it is. You know, if you're seeing this, congratulations. It must have made it in. If not, we'll make sure that we'll move it on over to our other platform, which is mybondtube.com. And I've told you before that I believe those days are even on that page, that the days of that page is numbered as well, simply because of what's coming down the pike. And talking like this, as I just shared here on this platform, it's going to become there's going to be attached to it a much heavier price than what it was in the past. So be an individual that asks questions. That's the only thing. If anything I can leave you with, be an individual that asks questions and you're not afraid to. Those that are wanting to stay in their little matrix and don't challenge me on anything at all. This is my little book and don't you dare touch this book. If you are not truth, again, if it's truth, you don't have to make up lies and other things to protect it. If you find yourself doing that, then it's not truth. You understand? You don't have to make things up. You don't have to excuse it. If it's truth, loves to be questioned. Truth loves that because it demands that, period. You understand what I'm saying? That's the very nature of truth. So if you're not that person, if you're not standing on that, if you don't have that characteristic, and I'm telling you right now, what's coming down the pike now, you're not ready for it, and you won't make it on the other side. You won't. because you will forever find yourself compromising for the greater good. So I hope you got something out of it. Listen, you take care. I'll talk to you again soon.